Hello and welcome back to another episode of Farm and Life at the Forge. So we have just finished the herd test. I had originally done an intro before doing the scanning last Friday, and I said I better redo it because nothing has gone to plan. I'll show you it all now. So we did the scanning on Friday, scanned the goats and the cows, and we've done the herd test now today. So new rules in France on the herd test this year. I'll explain all about that as well. We actually have a cow that is down. She's been down for a few days now. She's not able to get up. She's not sick. She's a healthy cow. She's just not able to get up. Dad will explain to y'all now. She actually had a calf, and if you're following me on Instagram, you would have seen a few, I think it was 10 days a week ago, can't remember, I had put up actually a video of a cow calving, and a lot of people noticed that it wasn't a limousine calf. It was actually a Belgian blue calf. So our last Belgian blue calf on the farm, so you've seen the bull going a while back, so that's the last calf out of him now. He's a lovely calf. Mum is now feeding him on the bottle while waiting for the cow to get up. So I'll show you the footage now that Dad took of the cow, and yeah, hopefully she gets up soon and she'll take back to the calf. Fingers crossed, I suppose.
So, here we have a cow with a problem. She got the splits like a ballet dancer. So we have her two legs tied together now. We had them done with a rope. So we got straps for them, as now it's cutting on them. So she's moving around this shed. It's a nice and dry shed. She was in on concrete. She's fairly moving around. So we're going to give her try a lift today now. Now she went down in the shed where the concrete is, so you see that big strap around her there. So we lifted her out with that, so you always have to lift, not here, because you'll damage up there is her ribs. So I was able to lift her up there. That's a big wide strap. Now, we've got this yoke here, and I don't know if it's great. It clamps in on their back. I think they must be very sore on them. But I'm going to see. Now, the calf, I'll show you. She calved about a week or more, 10 days. Then we thought it might be a friend of ours thought it might be milk fever, or I think it's milk fever, yeah. So she'd have a problem with calcium, but anyways, we said we'd get the vet, and he checked all that and said she's okay. It was just an accident she had. Probably another cow poked her on when she was up drinking at the water trough where there's concrete, and that's where we found her, slipped. So the calf can't suck over now, so we're bottling the calf at home. He's just getting into on the bottle, so I hope she gets up in the next couple of days, because the calf might forget about her. But usually when the calf was sucking her for 5 or 6 days, it's hard to get the calf back on the bottle, but he is. So she's moving around on us, and she's making a bit of an attempt. So and she's eating there and all. So I'll try lifting her now later on. When she's finished eating there and I'll give her some water. And hopefully that'll do it.
Okay, so it is the day of the scanning. So myself and Jessie in the back are heading over to the second farm. So we have all the feeding done this morning. We've fed ourselves. Mum and Dad have gone over to the second farm, so they're over there now. They were locking in all the cows' heads. Actually, your man should be the scanner lad should be just arriving now.
So we hold their nose, stop them kicking at the back, takes their mind off their back legs.
50, 40, 80, un mâle. 90.
They're either fishing by the eye or doing crocodile Dundee. Both works.
So that is over there. Well, they're just finishing off the last 2 or 3 now. I'm going to head back and try and lock in, well, feed hay to the goats and try and lock in as many as I can just before they get there. So we're going to do the goats now first. So now the goats are done, time to do these. That has them all locked in. We're going to start with the end pen down there. That was noisy. All the cows were up there roaring because Dad was letting out one pen, letting in another pen and feeding them. And so they obviously wanted the maize as well. So they're up there now finishing the scanning. I have to go in and put on some sort of a dinner.
Okay, we're just after finishing scanning. Didn't go that well. The first 3 pens, we couldn't believe it. They had 100% out of them. Normally you'd have one or two and empty. So then we came along to do the next few pens, and there was 1 or 2 empty in them, which is normal. And even at that, there could be some of them in calf because they were still with the bull. So then we came along to another pen, and there was 14 empty and only 1 in calf. That was a disaster. So there was 2 bulls in with them because we just switched the bulls in case we use young bulls a lot here on the farm because anyone that watches the channel, you know that we do buy and sell bulls, and we do kind of get the young bulls going for people that's interested in strong bulls. That's why. So there was 2 bulls in with them, and we'll either probably have to check one bull just to make sure he's fertile. So we're not fully finished calving yet. So when the ones that's calving now, we'll be scanning them later on in the year. So we'll have to scan these ones, and the other ones is empty as well. And hopefully they're in calf. That's what you'd be always hoping. Everything on paper never works out in real life in farming. Any farmer will tell you that. Why we like to calve a lot over here, autumn calvers, why I like them, I really like them here, is number one, if they're calving at a time of the year that we're not that busy, say in the end of September on, and it's good and all the cows are outside and we never have too much problems, touch wood. And as well as that, then I'm in more control when I put the cows and calves into the shed. I'm in more control over the calves over the winter. And the third thing is, the French don't do that much autumn calving well around here anyways. So, and we do find that we get better prices for our weanlings in the spring, because we sell most of our weanlings in say April, end of April, May. That's when the first group go. They don't all go together. Now, when they're in the shed now, it's easy for me this time of the year because they're all in the shed. If there's a problem, I can deal with it. If I had 230 weanlings or cows and calves out in the field all summer, to be a full-time job, keeping them all, the creep feeders fed, if you had a problem, moving them around. And then there's another problem over here you have is drought. So if we hit with drought then in the summer and you have 220 calves or whatever, you won't always have it like that. That's on paper. If you have 220 calves and you have a drought, you're feeding them all out the field, and the calves, it's just not easy to get the calves right. So I find this system works well for me. And the buyers, they like to buy if we can fill the lorry. That's a big bonus for them, because if you're feeding in creep feeders, you end up in groups, say if you have in groups of 20 or 25, no matter how well you have the creep feeders, you always end up with 5 or 6 big lads. And they're not an even bunch. When they're in the shed, they're even. And another reason then why that works with me as well, the shed works better, is if you're letting out big calves here in the spring, which will be shortly now, for the first 2 weeks to go back, because they won't start eating meal and they'll be eating the grass. And then if you have a cow that's not, if you have a cow that's empty and she comes bulling, all them big strong bull weanlings, they're going around after them, and if you get a cold night, you have pneumonia. So I find the shed, I'm in better control for myself having them in the shed. And I let the cows can be let off. Most of the cows are let off for the summer, and you don't have much maintenance with them at all, just to keep them in water and lack of mineralics. And I'm able to actually we have more hay to sell that way. Whether if I had all the cows and calves out, I'd have to be rotating very often, and I wouldn't have as much grass at all. So the silage then I cut is better for the calves now, because it's silage I cut really early in the year, and I keep that especially for the weanlings and the young cows, and they do well with me that way.
Okay, scanning went very well. Happy with the results. 4 goats not in kid, so we'll let them run with Laura's and let them go a second time, give them a second chance. The ones that are in kid now, we have to sort them and put them up for sale. So hopefully we'll sell them all, should be no problem. There's a big demand for goats, and people increasing their herd of goats. If we don't sell them all, we'll have to go back milking.
So, have another delivery today. It's bits for me 7,000 and me 5,000, not me 7,000. That's the original dynamo for it. The dynamo is on it. It's actually charging, but the bearings are making awful noise, and they're kind of she's locking up sometimes. So I got this, and the two rims came for the Ford 7000. Now they're not the original sort of Ford rims, but it's all I could get. Now, when I was serving my time back in Ireland, any Ford tractor that had a loader on it, we used to always put rims like this on it because they were way heavier and stronger, because the Ford rims with the loader used to all crack in between the holes. So I put the tires on them, and hopefully and they look okay. I'll spray them again. They're undercoated and all now. And the dynamo came, plus they sent me in overalls, QTP. Now, I buy all the filters and most of my stuff, all the electrical stuff, off QTP for the last 5 or 6 years. And I find them very good. So they sent over this overalls, thanks them very much. So, and the dynamo, so all that has to come now is the back glass for the A210.
So today is Monday and we are doing the herd test today. So we're testing for IBR and brucellosis. So IBR and brucellosis, they're both two contagious diseases. We have to test for them every single year, and there has been some rule changes here in France. So for IBR, I believe it's the same as it always was, and that's testing a minimum of 40 animals of the herd for IBR. So it's the same blood sample, we'll do both tests. We have to test a minimum of 40 animals, and they will give you a list of the 40 animals that have to be tested, but you have about a tolerance of 8 just in case you can't get to them, or one's mad, or for whatever reason. Yeah, you can choose 8 different, but that's minimum of 32 of the 40 that you test for IBR have to be from the list that they give you. So IBR is a disease that gives breeding problems, and I believe it also gives reproduction problems. So a cow that has IBR could be aborting a lot. It's a contagious disease, which is the main reason that you test for it every single year. And when if you test positive, now luckily we have never tested positive for either of these, so I'm not 100% sure on what happens. Touch wood, we don't get it wrong this time, or it'll be my fault. But when it comes to IBR, it is on the passport of the animals. So if you bring cattle to the mart and you have to give in their passports, and it'll be written on their passports if your herd is IBR free or not. So it's not just each individual animal, it's the whole herd. If you get one positive, then your whole herd is affected, and I believe it's 2 years before you're able to get rid of it between testing. I think you have to have 2 years straight of being IBR free before you can get the actual thing on the passports of all your animals. So when you're buying as well, you need to make sure to watch out for the IBR free on any animals bringing into the farm. So obviously you don't want IBR because you don't want your cows or anything to have problems aborting. You don't want them to be having problems breeding. It's not good for the animal. But also, if you have IBR on your passport, even if that animal that you're selling doesn't have IBR, if your herd isn't IBR free, it'll just bring down the price of cattle. No one will really want to buy your cattle. You don't have as big a market for it, so the price from the dealers will shoot down, and yeah, that's not good. Brucellosis is another disease. It's a bacterial disease. Don't know much about it either. I just know that, like any bacterial disease, like an infection, so you kind of get the same symptoms, aches and pains. I believe it can actually be spread to humans as well, and dogs and other things like that. So again, you don't want to have it on your farm. I'm not sure what happens if you get brucellosis in your herd. I'll have to ask the vet and ask him maybe after the scanning if he can explain a bit more to me. But yeah, again, another one that you don't want to get. Before this, you used to have to test all your herd with a tolerance of about 10%. So a minimum of 90% of your herd has to be tested, but you always want to aim to get at least probably 95-96%, just in case some of the tests don't work, or I don't know, just to have a bit of security on it. All your herd of animals over 2 years old, that's another thing. This year it's 20% of animals over 2 years old. So between cows, any heifers over 2, bulls, everything, 20%. So I believe we're doing, I think it's 56 this year that we have to do, and they give you a list of the ones, so you don't get to choose again which ones you test. So in terms of bringing animals in, it doesn't actually save much time, because you still have to bring nearly them all in, because they'll have animals from any group of cattle, bulls, anything. I think you have a small tolerance there as well. So it doesn't really save much time in sorting the animals out. However, it does save time and saves costs with the vets, because they don't have to do all your herd, they don't have to test all your herd, so it does bring down a bit of costs, but yeah, it doesn't save much time in sorting out the cattle.
Okay, so the herd test is over now. I don't have to catch the cows' heads to stop them kicking the vet. If you distract the cow, it's the same with a horse actually. If you hold their nose or put your hand over their eye and catch it, they normally don't kick. But actually they nearly kicked the vet this time with the 2 legs flying, but he actually he used them and he jumped out of the way. He's a smart little fella. Near the end, I have a bad poke with a cow, a stump of a horn. She cut the knee off me, and I'm in a bit of pain now at the minute. Hopefully I'll be on my 2 legs tomorrow, and that's Emily and Laura hasn't to do all the feeding and break all the tractors.
So that is the herd test done. I didn't get to do much filming of it. Yeah, I didn't get to do really any filming of it. I set up the camera at the beginning, and then we actually kind of just flew through them. The vet almost got kicked a couple of times, so with these new rules they were picking out the cattle, and I feel like they picked out every cow that's actually mad in the place. Big difference between the Charolais and the Limousine. Even over here, the Charolais are still a lot quieter. When I go into a pen and doing the herd test of the Charolais, they don't kick as much, they're not as flighty as Limousines, even though Limousines over here are way quieter compared to the Limousines we had back in Ireland. So yeah, so I believe I caught on camera the vet almost got a bad kick there at the beginning. Thankfully he didn't, he's not hurt. He almost got a few kicks actually today. And Dad got a bad belt off the horn of a cow onto his knee. He says he's okay, he's walking on it, so I don't think it's broken. He'll tell you himself anyways. But yeah, hopefully that's okay. So it's been a tough few days, but I'm just glad it's all done. So if you want to stay up to date on everything here on the farm, you can always hit the subscribe button below and ring the little bell notification. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.